Hello, welcome or welcome back. I wanted to do a quick intro explaining the types of readings you're going to see on my channel, starting with this one. And I really wanted to combine two of my favorite types of readings, which is collective zodiac reads and pick a card or pick a deck readings. And I wanted to keep it with the intention of the elements. So air, fire, water, and earth, whichever element I'm reading for. I do not label which group is which sign. I don't even really focus too much on the intention on each group's reading. I just pretty much try to read for the collective of whoever needs to hear it in that particular moment. And now all of these readings will be timeless, so no worries on the timed part. I will maybe mention when I'm recording it for any sort of specific reason during the reading, but I wanted to give you guys the freedom of your own intuition and the freedom to not really feel locked down to a specific reading that is in your specific sun sign, because we may need to hear something different or focus on a different topic. And everyone's going through different things at all times, and while there is a collective that goes through similar things, I wanted to give you guys the freedom to use your own intuition. And without further ado, enjoy the reading. Hello and welcome to your reading. This is going to be a reading for all of the fire signs. Now, I'm not going to tell you which sign is which, but I will be doing 3 different readings for the essential 3 different fire signs, and I want you to just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I kind of came up with this idea on my own, so I really hope that you guys get a lot out of this and really find which one resonates with you the most, and that way you can kind of see any sort of crossover for different signs and different placements and things of that nature. But always make sure that you remember, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Now, I'm going to be pulling some cards from this shamanic healing oracle deck, and this is going to help you guys decide which one should be the reading you hear first. Or you can do what some people do, which is just watch every single reading and then discern afterwards which one was the reading you needed to hear. So let's go for group 1. I have 3 different tarot decks here just so I can explain them. This is the Bianco Nero Tarot, Tarot of the Divine, and the Star Tarot. A couple of my favorites. I do have a lot of favorites, but these are, this one specifically for the art style, the Star Tarot is gotta be my favorite, but I also love the art style of the Bianco Nero Tarot. Very cool tarot deck. So let's see what we got for group 1. What do they need to know that this reading is for them? Group 1. Oh. Well, you kind of got 2 here. We have the past, present, and future for group 1, and then an extra one, I guess. Masculine energy, which this can be seen as yang energy. You know, yin and yang, this will be yang energy, aka ego or external energy. So, a lot about the past, present, future regarding your external energy. Okay, what is it for group 2? What do they need to know so that they can discern this their group is for them for group 2? I don't mind multiple cards, but let's get one card out here for group 2. Y'all got a very specific card wanting to come out. Hello. I'm gonna put those back because that was kind of my mistake. Sometimes I'm a bit clumsy. Let's get into it. Group 2, group 2. Oh. Number 29, changes. All right, group 2. Pretty sure you know what that's entailing. I don't need to tell you otherwise. All right, for the Star Tarot group 3, what card do they need to see so they know that message is for them? For group 3. Stripping Illusions, number 27. Okay, very interesting here. Alright, so I'm gonna let you sit with these cards and we will get into the readings in just a moment. Enjoy just choosing. If you want to watch all 3 readings, you can, but please remember to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Okay, group 1, you got masculine energy, number 16, and past, present, and future, number 4. I also find it interesting how the way we use our external energy, the way we use our energy out in the world, really affects how we look on our past, how we view the present, and how we look towards the future. So maybe there's a lot of different collective things happening with you just even recognizing your own energy. Like, I feel like you have truly moved beyond a lot of internal hardship. Like, there's a lot that you've worked through, and it kind of reminds me of the energy of someone really being tired that they're not disciplining themselves enough to get healthy or to get out there or to put their creative like art out there, and then finally saying like F it, really, and to put it bluntly. And I feel like that this is going to reflect greatly in your reading here, because when you kind of just remove those internal like blocks. Oh, I don't know why the color is changing. So the color may change here because the way my lights are set up. I don't know if you could see the reflection on this card. I have lights kind of changing, but let's fix that because I don't want that to be don't want it to like affect the reading too much here. Let's just do a color. That works. Okay. All right. So when it comes to really removing these blockages, that takes a lot of introspection, self-awareness, and discipline and discernment. You have been able to move through this and really take action. Like, this is all about taking action, because in the past maybe you didn't have the strength to do it then, and in the present you want to make sure you have the strength to do it now, so in the future you have even more strength to do whatever it is that you feel like you just need to do, whether it is like train your body to go on a 5K marathon, or study enough so you could really go for that degree, but in more ways than just one. You know, you're not just going to college for like I say, like you're a med student and you really want to get into a particular field of research, and it may have nothing to do with like the job that you're gonna get after your schooling, but you're still really enamored with a lot of research and just using that to kind of help you with the medical field that you're getting into. Because also it could be seen as like a therapist truly studying neuroscience and truly studying and researching a lot about the brain in order to better help their clients, better help the people that they tend to in therapy sessions. And it's kind of this strength, this grit, and this discipline that has really been able to push you forward here, Group 1. So I really want you to reflect on where that may fall in line for your story, for your life, because this is kind of a collective, and I can kind of pick up on different sort of energies of just whatever you need to hear. Like, I want you to look at these collective readings as like a person on the street that you randomly start talking to, and then you get this little bit of wise advice that you kind of keep with you for a little while, and you're like, that was some really like good advice I got from that person. I don't want you to take these as what to do with your life, but I really want to be helpful in the insight that the tarot and oracle can provide. So let's get into the further depths of this message for you, Group 1. What do they need to know, need to hear? Ooh, Ace of Pentacles. Okay. Let's get into it. Ace of Pentacles reversed. I feel like this is referencing the seeds you have already planted and your passion growing within them. You've seen how things have grown, so I feel like your new idea of not just passion, but how we discipline ourselves towards what we're passionate about really affects the work that we do later on. Because I feel like this is not even stopping and smelling the roses. You're kind of seeing the roses bud, like, for the first time. You're not really seeing them bloom just yet, but you're seeing the buds of them. And this is really, really crucial that you keep giving yourself a sense of, like, I want to say accomplishment, but like a sense of passion in a way that's really showing gratitude for the work that you've done when you first planted the seed. Because sometimes when the Ace of Pentacles is in reversed, I see it as like you are putting this idea into the ground, grounding it into reality, and really being determined to growing it into something beautiful. And your passion alone has grown it into something very beautiful, and it still hasn't bloomed yet. So this methodology that you've been working on and working towards is really crucial for, like, the rest of your life, pretty much, because we have past, present, future energy here. You are really going to learn upon this energy and understand how much grit and discipline it takes to keep this idea grounded in you and keep your heart motivated and passionate towards this sort of growth in your life, this this path that you are very determined to stay committed to. You are providing yourself with this own self of strength, and it's something that I feel like not everyone really has kind of cracked the code on it yet, and it's like cracking the code on themselves and their own energy, and how sometimes when you don't put enough discipline into the external energy of these things, that nothing really happens, nothing really grows. And I think you were tired of that. Like, you were just tired of, like, standing on the other side of this very fruitful path here and just in this sort of dry, barren desert of ideas and passions and commitments, and seeing that the doorway, the only way of the I want to say method of entry, in, like, I want to even like call it like the only way that is the, was it key of entry or the ticket through this little archway here to the more fruitful side of things with the Seven of Pentacles. You had to believe that you could do it in whatever way works for you. And I say this a lot, but it's something that we truly have to take a lot of discipline on. You had an idea, you worked through it, you kind of took notes on, okay, well, this thing works and that thing doesn't work. Okay, let's continue with what works. And then so on, so you were able to kind of maybe even bear one of the fruits of your labor and kind of see, oh wow, this is actually working, this is actually growing. Because the only thing that we're going to see in reality is the thing that we have already plucked off of the vine. When it comes to a lot of internal things or external things, like working, we're working on, we don't really see how much our knowledge has grown until we put it into practice. So if you're researching something a whole hell of a lot, you won't really understand how much you actually know until people start asking you questions about it, or kind of quizzing you, or you quizzing yourself. And this especially happens for, I think, a lot of new tarot readers, where they will really get into tarot, say that they're still a beginner, and tell people, like, people will have questions about it, and then they'll speak on it, and they kind of seem like they're a little more than just a beginner. And I feel like that's something to be very like acknowledging of, because it helps you make that next step to that more advanced level that you truly wish to be at, I feel. And I know it's like something that can't be really like pinpointed on, oh well, when am I gonna reach that next level? And it's like, well, keep studying, and then later on you'll see, later on you'll understand, you'll know. And it won't be a question whether, am I still a beginner, am I an expert, kind of a thing. And that's why it's kind of sideways here. That's very interesting. Oh, hello. I feel like you have a uncertainty of how to really express recognition towards yourself, towards your own knowledge and what you've grown. But the work kind of shows. Like, I see this Nine of Pentacles, like, you're just standing here like, yeah, like, this is just something little that I've been able to accomplish on my own. This is something little I've been able to grow. And then looking at it, it's like, you have 9 pentacles here that are worth acknowledging and, like, saying you have more, know more, or have done more, not just have more physically, but you have done more than the average person here. And I feel like it's very understandable for how we view ourselves when we're trying to be better, be more disciplined in our efforts to pursue the things that we want to pursue, whether it just be work, career, hobby. And there's a lot of different ways to not just explore how you, not necessarily how you feel about something, but I feel like this is like how you feel about the work that you put in. There's plenty of different ways to explore this, and I feel like you downplay it constantly. And this is where it's hard to not downplay it when you can look back and say, I started from square one. I feel like this is also equivalent to people, like, when they want to get healthy and they're finally, like, pretty healthy and at a really good, like, weight for themselves, or they have built up a lot of muscle, they've toned their body a bit more, and people kind of keep asking, like, how'd they do it, and it is very simple is the answer, but it's also something that takes a lot of grit and discipline and commitment towards a better and healthier future in life for yourself here. And you want to tell people these very simple things that it's like, there's no special secret. It's just really like just being able to understand your own personal nutrition levels and exercise, and whatever exercise works for you. It doesn't have to be every like simple and structured out routine like everyone else's. It just has to be something that works for you, that you're committed to. And people kind of may hit this person who's being really healthy and is really healthy currently and toned and all this stuff, and they're like, well, it's really hard for me to do that. And you want to tell them that you understand. And it's hard to do that without downplaying your own results and your own success, because at the same time it's like, hey, I was there too, and I still worked on it, disciplined myself to find what works for me. But at the same time, you kind of feel like you kind of have to downplay your success so other people could be comfortable with what you've been able to learn and explore. But half the time, being honest with people is probably the best thing, and being honest with yourself of like, listen, this took a lot of work. Like, this took a lot of effort, and it wasn't because I just wanted it more. It's because some days you just wake up and you're like, I really want to commit to this. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it. And there could just be a random day that that person who's asking you for, like, how did you study so well at this research topic? How were you able to, like, wake up every day and still find time to exercise? Or how did you beat your cravings? Or all these different things. When in reality, a lot of it is just discipline. And discipline isn't necessarily something that should be seen as like a punishing thing. It should be rewarding, and that's where you're at. But it's weird to have to downplay your success and your own recognition of self to kind of not necessarily make other people comfortable. But I feel like you have a big heart to you that you want to make sure everyone can feel like this is possible. And it's not necessarily a bad thing for some of you. And for some of you, I feel like it's not even just other people you're downplaying it to, but you're downplaying it to yourself. And I feel like the more that you work on something, the more you feel like you're stuck at this, like, my flowers are budding, but my flowers will never bloom. And you're feeling like you're stuck with that. And it's kind of this similar cycle of, hey, the more that you downplay your success, the more you can't enjoy the things that you've actually been successful at. And even that internally takes a lot of discipline to understand and express to yourself so you can continue with exerting it into the external. The internal energy really coincides with the external energy in order to not only not downplay your success, but to continue on this path. Because we're always going to have moments where we're not motivated, or we feel like we're going to fall into the same little pitfalls that we fell into in the past. But that's the thing that we need to recognize, because the past doesn't just have to be 10 years ago, 3 years ago. It could be last week. It could be how you were feeling last week and you want to make changes this week. And that perspective can have a huge difference on how you see your success and how you see your own true nature to things. All right, last 3 cards we have, with also the overall energy. We have King of Pentacles, 8 of Wands reversed, and Knight of Pentacles. I feel like it's hard for you to move forward to a particular task without seeing all these ideas and not being able to execute all of them at the same time. So it makes you very hesitant on what to actually choose, because you don't want to give up a lot of the comforts that you have been able to feel with downplaying something. Like, I just feel like there's a constant downplaying of a particular thing, and you're like, well, that's what feels normal or what feels right. But at the same time, you kind of have to be a bit selfish, a little bit boastful, but in a way of like, I did this. I completed this thing. I've been able to get myself to this point. But some of you are either not acknowledging the success that you've actually, like, built up, the work that you've done, like, on your own, or some of you are saying that you have gotten to this point when in reality you're probably still at this 7 of Pentacles point. The 9 of Pentacles is more accomplished and has completed a lot of things, and it's literally the card of you can bear the fruit that you've grown, you know, the fruits of your labor kind of a thing, and not necessarily enjoy it, but really, like, enjoy it out of, like, this is a necessity. I'm going to pluck this fruit off of this tree or off of this bush because I worked hard for this and I want to enjoy my hard work and how I can. I feel like some of you keep looking at your Seven Pentacles bush being like, why isn't this fruit grown yet? Or why is this fruit only like grown this small or this tiny? It's only grown this amount. But at the same time, that's downplaying your own success of even getting to this point here. Because I know it's easy to think of 100 steps ahead, and like if you're on like a health journey, it's easy to look at all the people on social media, go through their journeys in the span of 60 seconds and be like, oh, I wish I was there. But at the same time, the 60 seconds and like minute and a half that we see on certain social medias or just online took a lot of effort and take consistent effort. This is something that has to be consistent. And this is where the King of Pentacles energy is very much like there's feels to be like a lot of restrictions with the life that you've created for yourself. And this almost feels like the energy you put into other things makes it feel like you can't put energy into the particular thing that you're growing. But at the same time, it's almost like treating this as there's nothing wrong with wanting to go out on the weekends, but at the same time being realistic of like, well, maybe we'll go out every other weekend because some weekends we should probably stay in and save money or something like that. And I feel like there's plenty of ideas that probably have come to you and different signs that have come to you to be like, hey, the restrictions that you feel in your life are only there because you placed them there. And now it's being treated like a comfort zone, to where when you look at these ideas that have come up, these signs and synchronicities that have come up, they feel like they don't necessarily align because it's causing you to move out of the restrictions and limitations that you have set up. And it makes you feel hesitant. The Knight of Pentacles is the most hesitant card, and it causes us to be hesitant to really look back on the pentacle here, all of the things that we have said that we were going to do and commit to in the past. What are we going to do with that now? How are we going to continue this commitment in a new way, or just in a broader way? Because right when we lead to the King of Pentacles here, you can really grow these structures not just as restrictions or limitations for yourself, but as things that build you up and keep you stable. And now it makes it even more worth it to exert your external energy to work for these things. Like, you see how helpful it is to find better nutrition for yourself, so it's actually making you feel good and your body feel good. And some of the other may or may not be junk food or just like usual stuff that you'd eat. You're like, oh, this doesn't really make me feel that good. Like, I want to make something or eat something that's going to make me feel good. And this is where the Queen of Swords, the overall energy, kind of comes into play. All of this is a reconstruction of plans and blueprints that you have set up for yourself, because I feel like you have a new idea growing, you have new passionate commitments growing, but what's happening is that there are limitations that you need to rework. There are blueprints that need to be revisited here, because the idea that you can't pursue certain ideas because of the limitations that you essentially have set up yourself is the thing that needs to be reconstructed and relooked at. It's something that not necessarily is your fault of why you can't move forward, but it's something that we always have to do to kind of understand, oh, well, maybe I'm getting either getting ahead of myself or getting a little too not necessarily worked up, but like you're the one that's kind of pulling yourself back and pulling back the reins on like the success that you've actually already maintained here, and saying, oh, well, let's see how we can fit this like square in a circle, but at the same time the square is bigger than the circle kind of metaphor here, so it won't really fit. But if you break out of this sort of comfort zone, you can make this circle big enough to fit this square plan of structure into your life. It's something that you choose to do and you choose to commit to, because these ideas could keep coming to you, but there's no action. There's no external action happening here. It's just going to be you sitting and waiting for things to happen. And that's not the true Queen of Swords energy, because I feel like that's the thing you're kind of teetering on, of like, do I just sit here and like wait for it to happen, or wait for a better idea? Excuse me. A better idea to come about when you've already had a million ideas come to your own head? Or do you commit to maybe breaking out of this comfort zone that's more of a limitation to how you pursue this committed, I want to say like committed passion, committed idea, committed path? Because it's something that only you could really express to yourself, like 100%. Now I'm going to pull a couple more oracle cards just to kind of finish up this reading here. And I'm just going to use my intuition with these cards. I'm not really going to look at the book, because I feel like this needs to be something kind of short and sweet. Alright, let's get maximum like 3 cards here. What do we need to tell group 1 to end this reading off? So I feel like a lot of staying committed to the external energy and the action you put into your life is going to help you. And even if that action is like, you need to take a rest day. You can't be working all the time, so the action could be taken into resting and really rejuvenating yourself. But sometimes rejuvenating yourself asks you for a lot of different things. So let's see what we have to end this reading off. The Starborn. Interesting, okay. We have the Starborn kind of reversed. I feel like you know the greatness that you feel like you're meant to achieve, whether that's great knowledge or just great discipline towards your particular path. You feel like you're meant for a lot more than what you're doing now. And I feel like the fact that you're not fully committing to it is something that kind of not necessarily hurts you, but it keeps you from fully breaking out of this shell here. We have the Stone. And the Father, which is another representation of masculine energy, divine masculine energy. There's one card I need to look into. Just 1 second, because I normally don't get this card. Oh, dang it. Well, I'm gonna have to pick that up later. Oh, crap. One of my tarot decks just all fell out. Alright, 1 second here. It should be all of the cards, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, that seems like it's all of the cards. 78 pickup, anyone? It's like 52 pickup, but it's with a tarot deck, so there's more cards. So exhilarating, I know. So amazing. Alright, alright. Let me see this one. Ooh, the stone. It talks a lot about being the anchor. This is something that you need to anchor this idea that you're meant for something more to the external energy. You can either anchor it to kind of keeping yourself inside your limitations, which I feel like it's at right now, but now you need to anchor it so it actually broadens your horizon, so it actually sort of links to and is the anchor for you constantly pursuing and disciplining it. And I don't know what this exact anchor is, the stone card here, but the fact that it's literally pointing to this external energy card, the Father, which is the idea that you could be very disciplined and with like learning and growing and using a lot of different external energy to really lay a path of leadership for yourself out here. Or you could pretty much be degrading and demeaning towards yourself and limiting towards your own growth and pursuit here. This idea that you're meant for something more, I feel like should be the anchor to be disciplined. To be like, hey, okay, I'm gonna show up for this part of myself. I think you need to ask yourself, are we showing up for this deeper part of our purpose in our life here? And if not, how can you, Queen of Swords, restructure this plan, restructure this idea? So allow yourself to kind of sit with this. I feel like this is something to kind of really meditate on if you're into a lot of the meditating things. I feel like it's something that's going to help broaden your perspective and really give you a different sense of motivation of how to pursue your path, like this current one you're on in the future, and how to keep it consistent. And there's always going to be days that we're going to maybe feel not so great, or maybe feel like we don't have the energy to do a particular thing. But when we take action on making sure that we're rejuvenating ourselves and rejuvenating our soul, we can still pursue this with great commitment and great consistency. You know, your phone doesn't run forever. You have to charge it again at some point. So remind yourself that you're kind of like a battery or like a car engine. You're not going to run like with infinite energy. You have to stop and slow down for a second. So use this time as reflecting on this as that moment to stop and slow down and kind of reconstruct this plan and these ideas that I feel like are really somewhat solidified in your head from a very, very either early age or from a very, very long time ago, that you're like, no, this is the way I'm doing things, and you kind of were like, no ifs, ands, whats, buts about it type of a deal. So allow that to be your reading. Thank you for being here, Group 1. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, wherever you're in the world. And we're going to move on to the next reading. All right, Group 2, you have changes, which I feel like this is very self-explanatory. Probably don't need to tell you twice, like I said earlier. But changes have to be something that we kind of keep a momentum on. And I'm not sure if this is going to pertain to the momentum of Group 1's reading, because that's kind of what we were talking about, of like keeping the momentum. I probably should have used that word. I feel like momentum is something that you're trying to keep currently, and in the sense of like, while everything's changing around you, you are staying yourself and you are staying the same and keeping the same commitments and really being adamant on just what is happening, like internally and externally. But I really want to get into this right now because I feel like this has a lot more to do with not necessarily just the ebb and the flow, but really witnessing ebb and flow in your life, like this spiritual concept of ebb and flow. Like, it's something that you can genuinely experience now. And I feel like you haven't been able to truly experience it a whole lot before, but it's something that you are very grateful to experience now. And I feel like this is something that because you're so grateful for this experience, you're able to really pursue um, your ideas, ideals, passions with a lot more sincerity and grace for the self. Like, you feel like you can actually move through the changes that are happening externally and still keep a well-rounded mind internally to consistently keep up with your external life and just the external environment that you are currently in. And it's something to really be admirable about. I can't even say that word. Admirable? Now it just sounds weird. You know what I'm trying to say. You're honoring the self and honoring the path that you're moving through, because while there's multiple different things kind of coming in towards with these lines, you're kind of trying to keep on this same path here. Even if something feels like it leads you astray, you come right back to the point of your work and your work ethic here. The Emperor, which is, I actually really, really like how this card came out, because the Emperor is someone that actually works in the long term. You understand that no matter what's happening currently, the work that you do now is going to greatly affect what is happening in the long run. And I feel like this is something really, truly to be admirable about towards yourself, because it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work to be consistent. And I think you understand that work, but it's so fulfilling and it's so worth it to you. And I'm just really curious for group 2, what other advice do they need while they move through these changes and move through this commitment of self here? Any pain that comes up, any of it, any sort of hardship, hurt, remembrance of trauma, really allow yourself to work through it. And whether you accidentally kind of get a little paper cut in your feels area, all in the feelings, not real paper cut, understands that it's a sword that you wield. You don't want to be too harsh on yourself, but sometimes you just need to let out your feelings. And it could be feelings of feeling harsh about yourself, but if you word it in a way of like, I keep feeling like this and I keep feeling like that, even though deep down I know I'm not this and I'm not that. Like, we could have tons of labels put on us from an early childhood and they still affect us to this day. Ooh, but you're reconstructing that pain that you feel. Every time that you're staying committed, you're committed to not being an old version of yourself. I'm getting like, this is something you're really fundamentally changing. Like, you knocked down this tower because you knew that this wasn't going to be a belief system that really supported you. The tower really represents not just sudden changes, but a lot of fundamental beliefs that we hold on to. And listen, another card that's about change really coming up as a synchronicity here. You're changing the way that you fundamentally think about yourself and the pain that you went through. And I think this is a lot of rewording things. Like, the simple thing that I usually tell myself is, when I make a simple, silly mistake, I usually say, I'm stupid, but I'm not stupid. And since that's kind of a mouthful sometimes for me, if I want to say those words, I'm dumb, oh crap, I'm stupid, kind of a thing, I reword it and say, I am a silly goose. I am a goofy goober. I am a silly, silly goose. And it's helped me really reword a lot of different things in my own path and in my own life. And I feel like that's the thing that you've actively been working on and working towards, because this is something that is truly, over time, going to fundamentally change how you talk to yourself, how you believe in your pursuits of these changes you're committed to, because I feel like it's a constant effort that you've been really working towards. And now it's changing in a way of like, you're able to express this pain without really hurting yourself internally too much, like hurting your own feelings and beating yourself up over something, metaphorically. I don't want you to actually... I'm not a medical professional, nor am I a therapist, so please take what I say with a grain of salt at the same time that you are very much feeling like you're resonating with this, because I don't want to talk about things that I'm not really licensed to talk about. So when we talk about beating up on ourselves, we're talking about it in strictly metaphorical way. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Because sometimes there's a lot of harsher things that we could do to ourselves, not just mentally or emotionally. So you going through these changes in the things that you're committed to have been very healthy, but that doesn't take away from the trauma that you experienced and the pain that can still be with you in the later years to come. But now you're just finding different ways to not necessarily just heal these things, but process them. We always have to work through these things because there's always going to be dark days that we're feeling not really ourselves. And we have to learn how to express it in a healthy manner. And I feel like this is where you are fundamentally changing yourself to express these things to yourself on a fundamental level. Next cards we have coming up is Four of Cups here. Four of Cups, Queen of Cups. And Five of Cups. See, some of the words I was getting earlier were a lot of, and funny enough, on the bottom of the deck is the King of Cups. I feel like you're very quick and prone to the emotional side of feelings, and what that can sometimes cause is a moment that we kind of feel like we are not necessarily spiraling, but you know, a lot of people have a lot of trauma from their parents, and it could lead you to spiraling into questions of why this, why that, why me, and why didn't anyone just do this, or why didn't anyone say this, and a constant questioning yourself of why. And you know the answer, but the answer hurts, and we understand this. But the big part that I feel like is getting missed out on, like when it comes to the Four of Cups here, how this person has turned their back on the Fourth Cup here, of true expression in a way that's really processing it and healing it, is sometimes we have to be the person that we needed so much and so long ago. And that's a different kind of pain, because it can make us feel angry and really frustrated. And it almost feels like, I feel like even with this Tower card, some of you are like, oh, I'm not over this anymore. Like, I'm still not over this. And it's like, no, because you were hurt. Scars just don't heal instantly like little tiny scrapes do. A scar that is left onto you, no matter how small, is going to stick around for a while. Not even gonna say years or months or whatever. It's going to be there for a long time. And the more that we sit there and say, you know what, this is a reminder that I just need to be this person for myself, takes a true level of discipline and commitment to the self. But it's not going to be something that happens overnight. It starts with the little things, like I was saying, of not calling myself stupid or whatever, and rewording it in different ways. That's how you have to treat this sort of, it feels like almost emotional spiral. Not like it's a bad thing that you're doing that, because we all kind of get into those headspaces with different things, and we sit there and we ask ourselves all these questions that run on a broken record, and sometimes we just need to have that big emotional release and then come back to the self and say, hey, we really needed this, and we really needed to either have said person by our side or do said thing for ourselves in order to fully express that we don't need this energy anymore. And anyone that's still holding on, you don't need them. You don't need that right now. You need to move forward with the things that are fulfilling you, because you have a lot of heart to your work ethic. You have a lot that you are expressing to yourself, to people that love and care about you. And the next part to emotional intelligence in self-awareness is really staying committed to, hey, maybe in order to be committed to this change that I want to enact in myself, I have to be the person that I needed so long ago. And it really hurts sometimes for some people, because you can feel angry that, oh, I have to do this, I have to be the one to do this. Let yourself be fucking angry, okay? Let yourself be angry for a minute. Because when you're not, you do everything with a little bit of resentment. And that's not where we want to be. That's not the healthy mindset that you truly want to be in. And I think that's the big difference here, is that you really want to be in a mindset where you aren't doing and committing to these changes with resentment. You're moving through it with a passionate idea that you can work with yourself on. We have Two of Wands in reverse, and I feel like if you're not sure how to let yourself be angry about it in a healthy manner, it's reminding yourself that, you didn't deserve to have to learn all of this stuff on your own. But every day you have a moment to wake up and say, I'm going to learn this stuff on my own. I'm going to be committed to the change, and I'm going to show people that I can actually change this side of myself into a very healthy way, and even forgive myself for all the times that I was either harsh on myself, that you were not necessarily wrong on some things, but just the mistakes that we've made as human beings towards the path that we were committed to being on. There's a lot of mistakes that we can make, and forgiving yourself is just one step, because you have to take action. Things don't change without action, and that's a big thing that we were discussing in group 1, but it was mainly the action part and taking action. But this is something of nothing's gonna change if you don't really take action on being that person that you needed someone else to be for you. And it's hard, okay? But you're angry because you didn't deserve to have to do that thing on your own. You didn't deserve that. That's plain and simple, and it's not something to make you spiral even more. Wow, King of Cups came out again. It's a way to have emotional stability or emotional maturity over yourself, to understand, hey, I'm angry at this, but I'm going to heal this anger by actually committing to the change, by actually committing to myself and saying, hey, I need to make this change to make myself feel better again, to make myself feel healthy again, to make myself feel less angry. Because you weren't always angry probably when you were a little tiny kid, like a little toddler. You weren't always angry. It's something that makes you angry. Some things that we just know we don't deserve and that we didn't learn. A lot of people have a hard time with certain changes because they didn't have someone to show them how to do something. And it's not that makes you dumb or that makes you a bad person. You didn't have someone to share this knowledge with you. And that's not right. That's not cool, in a very simple way to put it. Someone should have taught you those things. Someone should have explained these things to you, and they just didn't. And I'm sorry. And I think you have to tell yourself that and forgive yourself for not knowing certain things, because no one was there to teach you. But you got to make an effort for yourself because no one was there. If no one is there, then all you have is yourself. And that's the emotional maturity of the King of Cups. The King of Cups. Oh, excuse me. I had I breathed in a bit of dust there. Hold on. Okay. The King of Cups knows that the work they do on their emotions affects them greatly in every little bit of their life, every bit of work ethic that they have, any little hobbies that they get into and stay committed to. These changes that we work on internally greatly affect the external world that we are pursuing and walking the path of in. And I feel like you are really crucially looking at these parts of yourself, and don't take it as we're spiraling into something that we can't get out of. We're spiraling in a way because part of ourself is upset and angry and distraught that we weren't shown how to do something, that we weren't taught certain things. But it doesn't make you an idiot, doesn't make you stupid now. It just makes you starting from a different place, because think about all the different things that every person learns on a daily basis. We always learn different things at different times. And just because you're learning something at this age, whatever age you may be, whether you're a teenager, whether you're 40 years old, whether you're 60, 70 years old, we always learn things at different points in our life. And it's not something to be like beating ourselves up over about. It's something to accept when we're trying to really change into this more, I want to say, devoted and emotionally mature part of ourselves. We break out of the pain of the Eight of Swords. We break out of this mentality of, well, this is all I got. This is all I can do, because every time I think about this, I start like getting into this mindset. It's like, no, let's focus on why you feel like you get to quote unquote spiraling in this way. It's because you're still hurt over something that you didn't deserve. And the more that you sit there and say, why this, why that, why this, you know the answer. And you're not letting yourself commit to the change that needs to be happen on a core level. You still believe that you, sorry, my camera's freaking out at the colors here. You still believe that you are the way you are because you were built up this way. But what if you could rebuild your whole entire self? That's the ideas you need to start really focusing on here. Because this isn't just going to magically change without your effort, but you need to come up with a plan that works for you. And I feel like this is going to involve truly studying yourself and truly studying a lot of what resentment really comes from in certain areas, and why it's hard for us to really commit to change without feeling resentful. And I feel like that's a big thing after this reading to just look into, because the more you understand the self, all of this work is for the long run. And I think you know that from the beginning. It's really difficult. Everyone's gone through different levels of trauma or different types of trauma that leave them with different scars. So some things are a little more complicated to process than others, but it doesn't make anyone's trauma any less. It just makes it a different process. So don't even downplay your pain and hurt for a second, because you're really committed to this change, and I can tell. But it's going to take a lot of discipline and honesty here, and it's going to take a lot of understanding of this isn't always this thing that you've built up an idea about of yourself in the past isn't always going to be who you are in the present and in the future. And I feel like that's something to really stay committed towards, because I feel like you truly understand how you could rebuild yourself, but it's the act of doing it that feels a little uncomfy, because maybe if you were doing this in the past and you were like told, oh, hey, that's wrong, why are you doing it that way? It makes it even harder to do now. So just allow yourself room to understand yourself without judgment, and just look at things as they are. Do not place good or bad on anything. Just look at things as they are. Now, let's get 3 little oracle cards for group 2, please. The medallion. I feel like when it comes to things that uplift you, you could have a lot of objects that feel like they give you a sense of personal power. Please remember them and remind yourself of those objects, even if it's like you're an artist and the pencil and sketchbook is your item of personal power. Keep those things by you and reminding yourself of like why you do something, why you stay committed to certain parts of yourself. But also, if there are some things that are outdated, that are from the past, even if it's something like a silly little colander that reminds you of a parent that you were estranged from, just get rid of it. Like, colanders are a little piece of plastic or metal that you can get for like $5, $7, probably even more with this economy when by the time I'm posting this. But if it's something small and simple, I'd say just get rid of it because it holds a lot of residual energy. That's what the medallion card really talks about. So if you have a lot of items that still hold a lot of residual energy and you want to keep them, cleanse the ever-living shit out of them, okay? And then this shapeshifter card I really want to get into, but I want to see the 3rd card here that will come out, because this shapeshifter card can mean a lot of different things, but I'm really curious. Ooh, the Venom. Okay. So the Venom card is very interesting, and I want to just double check, because sometimes we can either be the ones that not necessarily are like causing this venom or are the keepers of this venom, but sometimes the venom and poison that is seeded into our lives really has an antidote to it, is kind of the energy that I feel from this card. So I feel like an item of personal power that reminds you of why you're doing this, like in the long run, is going to be super helpful for you during this time. But to really get to the shapeshifter card, I feel like you were able to shapeshift into metaphorically shapeshift into a certain particular animal that can actually like handle this venom, handle this toxin, and really find the cure within it. And to kind of explain this, it's almost like okay, the best way I can explain this is through my own experiences, because I am estranged from my mother, and I really had to heal a lot of things by going within and truly kind of putting myself in her shoes and seeing the poison and the toxin of her personality and how she chose things in life. And it made things make a lot more sense, because I was just trying to find an understanding of like why she would do certain things, why she would say certain things. And at the same time, oh Jesus, hello. My camera is freaking out. I can't decide what colors. There's too many reds. but to really explain the energy here, I feel like a lot of this is something that can be understood if you put yourself into the shoes of the person that hurt you, because it can help you understand why they chose the you could say the greater of two evils, not even the lesser of two evils, but like the greater of two evils, or why they chose to be mean and what was kind of going on with them psychologically. I'm just reading a bit of the Venom card really quick. See, I like the way this is worded. It says, the Venom card appears, or when the Venom card appears, there's a harmful substance in our psychic realm that must be identified. This is what I meant when I was saying the spiraling. When we recognize it, we can see how that is a toxin to our mental health. But it's not necessarily saying, oh, I shouldn't even touch the poison, I shouldn't even touch the toxin, I shouldn't even get into a spiral. Is completely ignoring the actual healing that should be going on here. There is a cure to this. There's always an antidote for this methodology. And then the book continues to say, perhaps your words have a sting of poison to them. Perhaps a relationship is slowly draining your reserves. Acknowledgement is the first step. Change is the second. The remedy will reveal itself in time, and with it, forgiveness. That is a big, big, big part to all of this, is the forgiveness part. Because I feel like you are changing, shape-shifting into something that you may not fully recognize, but maybe you weren't able to actually fully be yourself. So you can't really fully recognize yourself if you're not able to fully change into yourself. And the why weren't you allowed to be yourself comes with a lot of questions, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain that needs to be acknowledged. Because just constantly feeling trapped by it is something you're not going to do anymore. You are very determined here to really, I feel like you could say, fix this side of you, but it's not even about fixing. It's just about how you feel at the end of each day. You want to be able to be more committed to yourself. You want to feel stronger in this area, but you weren't sure what to do with the spiraling. But right when you catch yourself spiraling, ask yourself the hard questions of why did we feel this hurt for so long, and why do we feel angry when we think about being this person that we needed so long ago. But the idea is there. There just now needs to be action on it. So thank you for letting me read your cards. I hope you can sit with that. Please do some research on mental health and whatever is questioning your little brain. There's tons of resources out there now on the internet for free, so please utilize it as a tool to help shapeshift yourself out of this spiraling nature, because we're always going to have moments like this, but now you're going to be better prepared. The more that you work on yourself, the more that you do research. And you got to ask yourself the hard questions of, why do I get angry and upset at this small thing? Why do I feel resentful at this small thing or this big thing? Why can't I feel happy for myself in these moments? There's tons of different questions we can ask ourselves, so please allow yourself some grace in studying your own nature. So thank you for letting me read your cards, and as always, I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in this beautiful planet Earth of ours. And we're going to move on to group 3. Alright, group 3, you got stripping illusions. So this definitely very self-explanatory. I feel like I don't even need to describe it too much, because it's something that is genuinely a huge process and effort. And why does my lighting keep doing this, like, color change? Hold on. Give me a second here. Like, can we pick the colors? I just changed my ring light. I hope that kind of helped. I can't really tell half the time. I don't know. We'll see. But stripping illusions isn't just like having an epiphany one day. This is something that you truly are committed to unraveling, like the layers of an onion kind of a deal, or like the infinite blooming flower of a lotus flower in a way. And I feel like this idea and this concept coming about for you isn't just some minuscule thing. Like, this is a big realization that you've had, that you've pulled back different layers of, and really kind of had realizations of, oh, is that why I'm doing that? Or is that why this thing is this way? like an example that doesn't have to do with the self could be like, why does uh the higher management part of this job constantly work in this way, function this way? um why don't they just do things in a way that's somewhat easier or just makes more sense? And then you kind of have a big realization of like, oh, there is something from like the tippy top of a company that is affecting everything else downwards, and it has this deeply layered sort of issue going on. And this could be something that maybe you're just rediscovering something in a new way and understanding maybe just like a certain either like type of person, group of people, but either way it's allowing you to understand the illusion part in a very deeper way that I feel like you didn't really see coming. Like you didn't really understand, oh, that's how that is affecting not necessarily just your livelihood, but like how it, like these different little layers are affecting this whole process in a different way. And I don't know what that is on my desk. I just kept seeing that there in the previous readings, but I feel like there is a lot to do with how you're kind of pursuing different parts of the self in this nature. Like you understanding different layers of yourself can kind of help you tackle different parts of your soul and your own well-being. And I feel like this is going to allow you to not only see a brighter future for yourself, but see a brighter version of yourself in a huge level of understanding. So what else can group 3 learn from this card? Stripping illusions. What's going on? What do they need to hear for their highest good, of course? We are working with the Star Tarot here, one of my favorites. Very detailed artwork, and it's super beautiful. Has a lot of very layering and layered artwork to it. So I kind of like how this is the tarot deck that Stripping Illusions got, because we can look into the details of the cards and really see more in depth of what's going on. Anyway, let's get into it. What cards, what advice does group 3 need to hear? We have 3 of Pentacles and the Tower here. Oh boy. This is very actually interesting how this came up together, because we have this dove and these eggs here. And I almost feel like through the sudden changes of unraveling a lot of knowledge and seeing how things are affected to their core, and not just the initial change or the initial spark of a change or spark of a realization, it goes more in depth into there are ideas that you kind of birthed into this realization that kind of cracked open or cracked the case wide open in a way. But in order for you to have done this, you are working with this concept of the 3 Pentacles, which is me, myself, and I. Sometimes it could be multiple people and working as a team, and a lot of the companionship and working with other people. But a lot of what we're talking about here has a lot to do with the self, because we have to kind of really work with ourselves in different ways. Like, we want to pursue something to overcome this great change, to rebuild after this great change. But we have to maintain a certain schedule or maintain other things in our lives, and we have to kind of work with ourselves on that and have a bit of compromise in a way. And I feel like this energy coming about is really not just sudden, but like each realization feels like a crazy sudden change within you. I feel like this is the initial crack of the soul kind of happened. Like you experienced sort of something or learned something new that really like broke open all the different beliefs that you had about yourself and your path. and even your mental and emotional health that kind of trickled down into all of these different things that actually weren't sustainable or weren't keeping you stable. And to acknowledge that is one thing, but to really actually pick up the pieces and rebuild it with something new is an entirely different thing here. So let's continue with the other cards, because there's a lot I want to say, but I also, I want to get more cards out here. So we have Three of Pentacles, the Tower, Four of Swords reversed, and I always find it really symbolic that the Four of Swords, while the person is resting, that they are resting upon a salmon fish there. I believe that's a salmon. And salmon, in short, are all about resilience and strength. And when we talk about resilience, that is a word that we don't necessarily feel resilient while we are actively in that mode or that time of resilience. It's something that has to be looked back at and be like, oh my God, I was so resilient, or that person was so resilient in this sort of this situation. So when we think of this change that we want to commit to, because we've stripped away all the illusions, we have to remember to do it not only for ourselves, but in a way that helps us really wake up to more that's going on. Because I feel like that's kind of the active energy right now, is that you worked with the me, myself, and I energy. You had a lot of team effort towards yourself and your life, and maybe you shared this with an individual, and that individual could be someone who isn't necessarily all that nice to you or to your efforts and pursuits. And they say something of like, oh yeah, well that doesn't really matter. Like what you did was just like the easy part. And they kind of downplay your success, but then it makes you realize maybe this person wasn't always someone who had your back. Maybe there was always something more to this particular friendship, relationship, family dynamic, whatever it may be, that always left you feeling like you didn't do enough. And that's the part that really shakes us and wakes us up, is that initial moment where we're like, oh, you're not actually my friend here. You're more of a bully than my actual friend. And this is something that I feel like is really hard to not just wake up from, but like be truly committed to pursuing. And give me 1 second, because there's something I'm missing with this Four of Swords card, and I just want to look back at the book, because I feel like I'm forgetting a word. Sometimes there's like a key word that could help me explain this reversed Four of Swords feeling, because the swords have a lot to do with air energy and really our mental capacity for things. I feel like a lot of what this energy is really describing is a need to really step back from a lot of energy that isn't fully rejuvenating you. Whether that be person, places, or things, you need to take a step back from a lot of maybe sharing like a certain particular moment with an individual, because you know that they're probably just going to put you down or downplay it or whatever, even though you're really excited to probably tell that person something. There's a lot of distractions that can come about from that, and I feel like that's the big part of a lot of this medicine that needs to be kind of taken. Like I call it medicine in a way of like, you need to swallow it like a pill, but not in like a, oh, suck it up, buttercup. It's like, okay, we all kind of have to take our medicine with this. We all have to swallow this pill. And I think what I was really drawn to the salmon about was because it's not just about resilience, but it's about the inner knowing of why do salmon like swim upstream? Why did the salmon fish swim upstream? Because deep down, it is in their calling, their inner knowing, to lay their next of kin of eggs up at the top of the stream so that they can grow strong and healthy like they did. And I feel like this aspect is kind of getting a little lost only when you don't give yourself this proper rest after you've stripped away certain illusions. Because I feel like you've really explored different parts of the self here and different parts of this illusion and really trying to break it down and maybe prove yourself to people in certain ways. But you don't need to prove it to anyone but yourself here. I think that's the big key that you're kind of missing, and you need to rest upon certain things that you've gained knowledge about, because people will love to either downplay it or maybe even call you crazy or whatever the fuck, like, excuse my French, but like, it could just be anything under the sun of downplaying something. And I think you really are kind of realizing that the more you keep certain parts of your life to yourself, the more you find this change really integrating into your soul. But you need to take time to rest upon these things that you're discovering about yourself, these different sets of illusions here. We have 7 of Swords, 2 of Wands, and 10 of Cups. I love how the 2 of Wands shows the zodiac signs here. Seven of Swords, 2 of Wands, 10 of Cups, all reversed. This is something that you, when you rest upon these illusions that are stripping away, and you really meditate with them and understand them, you see and can feel the act of resilience building up within you. 7 of Swords is moving away from a lot of toxic things, because I feel like partially you still feel like this younger version of yourself. It could be any age here. But you feel like this younger version of yourself, and you want to feel like you've grown into this strong being with a lot of wisdom and life experiences to share. But you can't do that if you haven't given yourself time to sort of rest and recuperate with these ideas. And the thing with the 2 of Wands and the 10 of Cups is I feel like you want to feel happy and fulfilled with yourself, but you're not sure how to do that and feel strong in your own nature. And this is a very interesting part, because it's almost like you want a particular kind of cake that you haven't had in a while. So bear with me here. You want the particular kind of cake that you haven't had in a while, but you're not wanting to make it yourself. But you want it in a very, very specific way. And you sit here and you're like, well, I can't make it myself because I'm not good at this thing. But at the same time, if you put in a lot of effort and kind of, you know, have those like slow moments of researching how to do different things, you could bake this cake to be up to your specific like ideas or tastes or like taste preferences. And I think this is where there has been a huge effort in someone telling you you can't do something. And when you rest upon this idea of, well, this is why this person said this, and this is why I feel this way about this is why I feel like I can't do this one particular thing, it has really, like, to your core changed you. And now that you're unraveling all of it, it feels like you are almost losing almost a sense of fulfillment at the end of the day, because you want to please another person. You want to make someone else feel proud, even if it's just your friend recognizing your success. And I think that's the biggest mistake we can kind of make as human beings when healing this part of ourselves. We need to learn how to be proud of ourselves. Because I think you want other people to feel proud of you, but you also need to explore this in a way that's like, well, are you really proud of yourself here for this thing? Like, are you providing yourself with your own sense of pride and accomplishment in your endeavors? And I feel like there hasn't ever been a plan in place to do that. You really want to feel accomplished with others, and that's totally like an acceptable thing. Like, we can totally do that, but at the same time we have to be able to be proud of ourselves here, be proud of our own accomplishments in what we are pursuing here. And I think that's the big thing that you kind of are mistaking for a sense of pride. I don't know how else to explain it other than like mistaking something for something else, but that's the illusion that is being stripped away. Is it's not like you can't have people be proud of you. You must first be proud of yourself and feel that pride before anyone else can really give that to you. Because when someone is proud of you, they may not give you the praise that you feel like you are feeling that you deserve of, or you're deserving of. And I think that when we understand that we can give ourselves this own sense of pride and feeling proud in these moments, it allows more room for fulfillment. It allows more room to plan for the future of like, hey, like, what work can we do that we can feel proud of? Because it's not about just being proud of our accomplishments, but being proud of, hey, you came to a huge realization on your own. And I think you need to rest upon like how much effort that took. Even if it was just one day you felt like you woke up and you're like, oh, well, I realize this thing now. I just want to flip these next three because they just felt loose. And then bottom of the deck energy here. So we have the Empress reversed, 8 of Cups, 7 of Wands, 6 of Wands. That's funny how we go 8, 7, 6. So, and when we have 2 3s here, just saying. Alright, let's get into, let's get into more of this here. Being able to accomplish the knowledge of what the illusions you're stripping away are is something that fundamentally changes us. Because I'm going to use the word fundamentally a lot because the Tower card is out. You are changing to a core, like changing a core part about yourself. And it is the fundamentals that we are kind of feeling and touching in on, because these illusions you're stripping away is like when a male individual really understands what it truly means to be a man and what that archetype really is, but at the same time there's no actual true definition of like what it means to be a man other than to have a particular type of genitalia. And this is where the illusions of all of the crazy, like, egotistical and narcissistic people spewing all of this weird information and misinformation of what it means to be a real man, kind of a thing. And when we talk about the word man, or even like male and masculine energy, that's a lot of a different sort of conversation. Like when we talk about the archetypes of a mother and a father, you know, what makes someone a father, what makes someone a mother. Because it doesn't just have to be male or female to inherit those roles. It is an archetype of a particular person, or particular, I want to say, energy that really describes whether someone has that loving, caring, nurturing energy, or that provider, sustainer, like, energy, even leadership like energy, because those are very, very different, but they can still be embodied by, like, those, both of those energies of the archetypes of a mother and father can be embodied by one person. And when we get into the depths of that kind of conversation, we really talk about the divine feminine and divine masculine energies and how they all both play out within us at all times. We all have yin and yang. Yin is divine feminine energy, yang is divine masculine energy. So when we really kind of break down these concepts into what they really mean, instead of just focusing on the quote unquote hearsay of what things mean, these are the concepts and ideas and knowledge to rest upon, and to really just let yourself sit with this sort of, I want to say, archetypal energy, because the Empress card out here, and that is in reverse, is kind of giving me a hesitancy of you wanting to grow in this area. You really want to pursue growth in this particular area that you're stripping illusions away from. But it's really hard to move beyond the current things that you feel like you still are being pressured to believe in. Like, the world is just gonna be the way it is and there's no changing it, you know. That's a lot of stuff that I heard growing up. And it's like, oh well, things are the way they are, we can't change them, so what's the point in doing anything about it? And it's like, well, that level of thinking is how we got to this point in our society, in our economy, and in a lot of different things. And this is where, when we let go of the pressures of other people's beliefs and really follow our own, we find something super rejuvenating. But we need to take action on our own ideas, our own beliefs, and recognize them as our own. We can get a little bit of ideas from other people, like how some people are choosing to believe in one God, or choosing to believe in multiple gods, or choosing to be atheists. That is a choice. But yes, they are based off of other ideas and other people's beliefs, but what feels right to you? What feels more like this is your belief that you are following? And that's something to really sit with. And I think that's the big thing, is like, you feel like there's a lot of action that needs to be taking place, and we were talking about that in groups 1 and 2. Group 3, this is a complete reverse of, like, you need no action, you need introspection, you need a journey inward. And that is the key to a lot of what you're discovering in this self-discovery. And I feel like you can learn a lot about yourself when you choose to believe in your own ideas. And I can understand how hard that is, because we have to move away from, oh, well, you can't be that. You were always this weak little lamb before. But it's like, now, I mean, you were a kid then, and kids aren't that strong, which makes sense because they're kids. But now you're a full-grown adult. Now this is going to really get into a little small bit of resentment of, why didn't I do this sooner? Because it still hurt you. You were still believing certain things could work, and now you've come to the realization of, oh, when I work with me, myself, and I, when I work with my own ideals and ideas and pursuits of passion, these things don't work anymore. And that's what makes you a bit nervous about growing on your own and growing this ideal and this belief yourself, because you kind of want someone to help you through it. And there's tons of research out there and tons of people talking about a million different topics that a lot of us want to pursue. So please go and do your due diligence of just to yourself, of like looking into particular things that you kind of do believe in. And that's where you'll find growth, but you kind of need to take it one seed of an idea at a time. And when you plant that seed, you must rest and let it grow. A seed is not going to instantly sprout into a brand big, beautiful oak tree in a single night or a single week even. It's going to take a lot of time, but you need to pursue this as, this is my choice, this is my idea of where I believe I should go, and you need to recognize it, that it's your idea and yourself really pursuing this, and not going off of these 8 cups, these other things that other people believe in and other people feel like is right and whatnot. Because the internet has a lot of different, what I like to call hearsay, and not everyone thinks that way. People may act like a lot of people think a certain way, but there is how many people on the earth right now? Like 8 billion people on this planet Earth. That's a lot of different thoughts and opinions and quote unquote standards for different people. So create a standard for yourself. Create a standard that's not going to let you feel weak anymore, that's going to allow you to feel like you can be resilient. But remember this: being resilient doesn't ever feel like we're actually being resilient. And that is something to recognize, because if you're wanting to say, am I being resilient? Is this the act of being resilient? If you're pushing past these illusions and stripping them away from your heart and your soul and fundamentally changing into a way that is only your ideas and ideals that you're pursuing, and pursuing life for yourself, yes, that is being resilient. It takes time. And you wake up every day and choose to be resilient and choose to move forward with creating an idea that works towards you being happy and proud of yourself here. So don't let anything on the outside distract you, bother you. If you find yourself worrying about the illusions and the distractions, take a step away. Whatever it is, just take a step away from it. Focus on something that actually brings you a little bit of happiness or makes you feel a little more like yourself. So we're going to continue into the oracle cards here. Oh, hello. Jesus Christ. That was the card to kind of really stumble me there. I think a lot of you really need to not only release a lot of emotional things, but when you are emotionally releasing, you need to rest afterwards. You need to meditate, and you need to find a healthy way to emotionally release these things, because it's very difficult to move through things that we feel like we can't pursue or we can't be resilient in, but you can. And you gotta find your way through it, and you gotta do it for yourself, because no one's going to do it for you. So you have to be there for yourself. And even if it's just being your own shoulder to cry on, it's an emotional release that we have to release in a healthy way. So when you are releasing these things, allow yourself to rest and rejuvenate, even if it's just not even like sleeping, but you're like laying down, or even doing some sort of like restorative yoga. You have to be honest with yourself here. Alethea or Athelia? I think it's Alethea. Athelia, I don't know. I always mess up the pronunciation. But this card is literally all about truth. It like the single keyword for this card is truth. And I think you really understand how when you feel this healthy emotional release and understand the illusions that are stripping away and allowing them to kind of fall like leaves off of a tree in the autumn season, you feel like you truly you see the truth for what it is. Even if it is a little like painful, you see the darkness and the light of it. You see how you can heal from it, and how a lot of this is a healthy transition into a lot of becoming this warrior, becoming an advocate for yourself. The warrior card is a lot about advocacy. So whether you're doing that for other people, you must make sure that you're doing that for yourself and being an advocate for yourself to yourself. You don't need to share it with everyone, but you have to share the truth of yourself to yourself, and you have to be accepting of it and recognize it. Not just accepting, because I feel like you accept it because you're happy to be yourself, but you got to be proud in seeing yourself. That's the advocacy part. That's the truth in this nature. And there's a lot of things that have made us feel like we can't be an advocate for ourselves. And that's the things we have to emotionally release upon. It's really difficult, it's really hard, and I know, but it's so much worth it in the end. And I want to say thank you for letting me read your cards, because that is all I have for you. Make sure you give yourself the proper rest and rejuvenation. And just a little tidbit here. I will say the bottom of the deck card, when we were talking about archetypes, was the Mother. And this is the archetype oracle deck. So the Mother card is very caring, very nurturing, and you don't even need to be a female to pursue this archetype and to be this motherly energy towards yourself. So allow yourself to sow the seeds that you truly want to grow for yourself, and be an advocate and say, hey, we gotta let these ideas grow. We have to take time, and we can do it. Me, myself, and I here. That's all you gotta hold on to. That's all you gotta be grateful for, because if no one's gonna do it for you, you have each and every day to wake up and do something for yourself and be an advocate for yourself. And like I said before, I know how hard it is, but that's where the emotional release comes in, and that's the truth of it. We emotionally release things, we allow ourselves to see both the black, the white, the gray area, and all of the above kind of a thing, and all of the below, and really understand where we're lacking in this advocacy for ourselves. So, like I said before, thank you for letting me read your cards. That's all I have for you, and I hope you enjoyed this reading. And as always, I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye.